The depths of the oceans have long inspired wonder. But hidden far from the sea, another world waits to be discovered. The Great Lakes. We're on a mission to use cutting-edge underwater drones to explore the lake's most amazing places.
Wow, look at that guy.
And to bring you along for the adventure live.
We made it to 100 meters.
Today, we're going somewhere no one has seen in 40 years. The deepest point in the Great Lakes. Nicknamed Superior Maximus, this remote depression lies more than 55 kilometers, 35 miles, offshore in Lake Superior, plunging over 400 meters or 1,300 feet beneath the surface. A small number of species have adapted to survive in this extreme environment. Some have never been seen in their natural habitat. In the mid-80s, the Johnson Sea Link 2 expedition became the first to visit this abyss using a manned submersible. No one has returned since, until today. Join us as we attempt a descent into the deepest waters of the world's largest freshwater system. There's no telling what waits for us at Superior Maximus.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us for this historic dive. Today, we'll attempt to send an underwater robot to the deepest point in the Great Lakes, a place not explored in 40 years. I'm Zach Melnick, filmmaker, fellow of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society, and your pilot for today's descent. We're out here filming for Hidden Below the Great Lakes, a new TVO original documentary. And thanks to our friends at Detroit PBS and Great Lakes Now, you're joining the expedition live. Now, I should mention, this is a real expedition. Things may not go perfectly. Conditions can change quickly out here, and there's always a chance the dive won't go as planned. But that's exploration. And if all goes well, within the next few hours, we could witness sights and creatures that humans have never seen. Let me introduce you to our incredible team. On deck, Andrew Budziak will be co-hosting the expedition. Hello. Yvonne Drebert and Tila Chambers are preparing the robot and managing thousands of feet of tether cable as we descend into the depths.
Hi.
Behind the scenes, Jocelyn Bentley is switching cameras and taking your questions live.
Hello.
We're also joined today by fisheries biologist Shawn Sitar from the Department of Natural Resources in Michigan. For years, Shawn's deepwater research has provided some of the only clues as to what lives this far below the surface. What are you most excited about today, Shawn?
I'm really excited to be able to see with my own eyes an area I've been studying for about 20 years.
Awesome. Before we begin, we're going to head out on deck where Yvonne is going to tell us a little bit about the underwater drone. Yvonne?
Hi, folks. I'm out here on deck with our boxfish robotics Luna robot. We've named ours Kiyi after one of the fish we're hoping to see today. And this particular robot can go up to 500 meters deep. So I guess we won't be getting quite that far today, but pretty close. It's got 8 thrusters, so it can swim in any direction just like a fish. And because we can't send a signal through the water the same way we can through the air, our robot is always tethered. We've got 750 meters of fiber optic tether here that's going to keep us connected to the robot at all times. And inside this is a little piece of glass, just like the thing that brings internet into your house if you're lucky. And all of this is around it. It's about the size of a human hair, so all this around is to give that tether strength, and we're going to do our best to manage it. We've got 1,300 feet to go, so that's going to be a lot of line in the water, but we'll do our best. Back to you, Zach.
Thanks, Yvonne. One last thing. I want to dedicate this dive to my grandmother, Keitha Melnick, who passed away less than 2 weeks ago at the age of 102. Growing up, I spent summers with her on the shores of Georgian Bay. That's where my love of the Great Lakes began, and in many ways, it's what led us here today. So, Grandma, this dive's for you. All right, Andrew, over to you. Let's get this robot in the water.
All right, hello everybody. We're going to have a lot of fun up here on deck. There's a lot of action, got some fun stories, facts, and maybe even a ghost tale or two to share with you throughout the day. But the conditions are perfect. The robot is ready. We're up here on deck, so it is time to launch.
Okay, how you guys feeling out there?
Good. Ready to launch when you are.
Okay, everything looks good here. One more final check, sensor power on, and we can go ahead and launch away.
Okay, and you are good to start your motors.
Okay, I am starting thrusters. Okay, and I'm going to try to get away from the boat as soon as I can here. Okay, we're out from the boat, and we are going to, I'm getting a reading, I think, am I getting a reading on the USBO? I'm going to start to descend. So down we go, folks. And that's just the sound of the deck on the landing craft going down.
There we go. Gate is up. We're good to go.
Okay, and so now we are beginning our descent. So we are at 8 meters or 20 feet or so. Okay, and we are going down into the great blue abyss here.
Speaking of color, as we begin to descend here to Superior Maximus, Shawn, what can we expect to see in terms of light as we go down?
It's going to diminish. From my understanding, only the blue wavelength of light really reaches down there. The animals that are living down here actually aren't using their vision for feeding and things like that.
So, Zach, how are we going to see what's going on down there?
We're going to use lights. So we're going to light up the bottom. My guess is there's almost no light down there, judging by the amount of zooplankton and other life in the water column. And so Shawn, how do the fish see? You know, if they aren't able to see down there, you know, what are they equipped with as far as able to look around and understand where they are?
So fishes have a lateral aligned system along the sides of their bodies. They're modified scales, and basically it senses vibrations. So they're using mechanical sensory approach to move and navigate and then search for prey down there.
Cool. Okay, so just a quick update. I am at, the robot is at 55 meters, so 56 meters, 57 meters, so 100 and almost coming up on 200 feet.
We have a question from YouTube. What's the temperature of the lake today?
Okay, the temperature where the robot is right now is 3.75 degrees C, and the temperature on the surface was also about the same, which is perfect because what we want is the temperature to be roughly the same all the way down, because that means that we're going to have less currents down there. There's less mixing of the water, and we're going to have a more gentle cruise down there. We're going to be able to do more exploring.
And speaking of weather today, the conditions are truly immaculate. We couldn't have asked for better.
Yeah, let's see what it looks like on deck out there.
So I've got my camera here pointing out, like, look at that sky, look at that water. It is absolutely beautiful, but this was not the case yesterday. So if you tuned in at 1 p.m. and saw that we had postponed, this is not the view that you would be having. We came out to check it out. We were rocking all over the place. I think we were on the cusp of, you know, could we do it? Could we not? It would have been miserable. And, you know, we're glad we held off until today because, like, look at this. This you could fool anybody. I mean, this looks like the Bahamas out here. It's absolutely amazing. And yesterday that was not the case. So we made the decision to delay until today, and I'm glad we did because look at this. Absolutely beautiful conditions.
Okay, so let's give an update on how deep we are here. Maybe let's give the folks a shot of the control panel so we can see they can see what I'm looking at here. All right, so we are down to, as you see, 117 meters deep, so well over like 350 feet or so, or a little bit more. And this is what I'm seeing when I'm controlling the robot back here. So there's a lot of different controls to sort of digest. You get used to it over time. We can talk about this again when we get right to the bottom. This is a front-facing navigation camera, and this is a rear-facing navigation camera there as well. And then everything else is just designed so I can point the robot in any direction. But right now, we are just going straight down, where the robot is level, and we are going straight down. So right now, as you can see, we're just passing 140 meters or so. We expect the total descent time to take about 13 minutes.
If anyone, I know we have viewers from all around the world, and maybe you use feet, maybe you use meters. For some quick math, if you're trying to do the calculations in your head, 10 meters is 33 feet. So you basically times what you hear in meters by 3.3, so maybe get your calculator out. So we're going to be switching between both of them to try to keep everybody in the loop here, but that's that magic number, 1 to 3.3.
Okay, I'll just turn on the lights here so we can see little something. What can I? Actually, I'm having some.
While you figure out the lights, we have a comment from Facebook.
Just because it's so.
How exciting! Michigan girl, my whole life. Do you think there will be caverns?
Well, the knowledge of this lake bottom is actually very low. You know, that's one of the reasons that we're coming out to do this. And as you can see, I've turned on the lights here. We can see a bit of the marine snow, the stuff in the water. There's also zooplankton, living creatures in there. So the lake bed, especially around this area, is not mapped in very much detail at all, and it was only visited over a couple of days 40 years ago. So we really don't know what we're going to see down there. We know that there was a pretty steep slope that went down into that very most deepest spot, and we've sort of planted ourselves right on the edge of that really deep of that slope. So hopefully the plan is we're going to land at about hopefully we'll get to the ground at about 350 meters or 1,000 feet or so, and then we'll make our way slowly down into the very deepest spot. But we really don't know what we're going to find down here. The bottom mapping is very low resolution. It can be off by tens of meters or hundreds of feet, really.
Well, and when we did our test dive the other day down to 360 meters, we were seeing rocks that looked very similar to the rocks at Pictured Rocks. So, you know, we might see something similar to what you see at Pictured Rocks. Who knows? That's pretty exciting to me. Lots of good color in there, too.
I'm going to turn our lights down so we don't burn through our lights, because we have to do a lot of power management when we do this, because it takes a lot of energy in the robot to get down there to the bottom. So I'm going to just turn our lights on just very minimally here. Well, that's interesting. So when you actually do that, you probably is not coming back through really well at home, but we are going through sort of a lot of little shrimpy guys called mysis, and we're going to see a lot more of them on the bottom. But we're just sort of moving I'll turn a little bit more. We're just sort of little dudes zooming around there here. I'll slow for just a second here. Whew, we're really going down there. See, this is kind of what it looks like. So we're 257 meters deep and quite a bit of marine snow. Not seeing any little mysis guys there, so I'm going to keep on keeping on. Oh, there's one dude there. But we'll just.
As Zach continues his descent, you heard him mention in the intro and in response to a Facebook comment that there has been a team that's gone down here before. So 40 years ago, in 1985, that's when I was born, for reference, there was a bit of a golden age of Great Lakes exploration, seeing what was going on down there. So in 85, Val Klump led a team in a submersible that went down to Superior Maximus. We have a video of that. So here's a little bit about what that exploration looked like.
We have a seal.
That's what it looks like from right below the surface.
We're diving.
All right. You can see it billowing in front of us.
Doctor, I'm wondering if I shouldn't pick up a piece of this sledge here, maybe.
Yeah, could you?
Oh boy, we got us a core here, all right?
Got a good core. Let's hope this MSU special hangs on. Comes right out. Oh, beautiful core.
All right, roger that, coming up.
We're about 54.
Well, that was great. We have a question from YouTube. Does the use of lights impact the fish at the bottom who aren't used to it?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. So we've seen both reactions, both curiosity and fishes being scared. So we don't actually really know how they'll react. And I just wanted to give a quick up. So it wasn't an awesome video, by the way. That was really cool. That would have been an incredible time to be here. And I'm just going to give an update. So we're at 330 meters now. So we're actually 20 meters from the bottom here. So we are approaching the bottom, not the very deepest point, but we're going to move towards that. But and
so, Shawn,
we're going to be on the bottom very soon now.
Shawn, as we finish our descent here, you and I have spent a little bit of time together over the last couple of days. I've learned that you're quite a Star Trek fan, and of course, to boldly go where no one has gone before, which is sort of what we're doing today. Tell me about the challenges of trying to research an area like this where you can't go. It's you can't just throw on a scuba suit and jump down there, and it's not every day that you get cameras down there. Tell me what some of the challenges that you come up against when you're trying to understand.
Okay, and so we're just coming up. We are coming up on the bottom here. Let me get us in focus, and yeah, we have a rock. Exciting. So we're on the bottom, folks. So we're at 350 meters right now, and I'm going to try to go southwest, as we descend. Oh, we got a bunch of deep water sculpin down here, and let's see if we can get these little guys on camera here. So we got some deep waters. They're moving around. I'm going to keep on keeping on, see if we can find something. Oh, it looks like we might have some. Because I'm also looking at another sonar screen here, folks, where we can see I can see the lake topography quite a bit ahead of me here. It looks like there's some interesting stuff on the bottom just over here. Sorry, I interrupted you guys, but
Absolutely.
Just on the land here.
Come on, this is historic. Interruptions are absolutely fine. Shawn, we can get back to that question of the challenges, but we're seeing these little sculpin as we fly by them. Can you tell us a little bit about what they are?
So sculpin is a small fish that lives in the Great Lakes, and the deep water, of course, with its name, is the deepest form. So they basically don't get larger than about 5 or 6 inches, and they serve as a prey base for the predators that live down here, which include the siscowet lake trout, which is the top predator, and also benthic predators, the burbot.
So picking up on my last question, how do you know anything about them if you can't go down there and you're up here and they're all the way down there?
So yeah, our survey program, our primary mission is to monitor the health of fish populations. So we're using nets. So we use bottom gill nets that we set in Lake Superior, and they basically are like a tennis net. You would deploy, and it sits on the bottom, and then fish passively swim. Basically we'll swim into them, and then we'll capture them and lift them up. And typically, survey programs work in shallow areas, less than about 100 meters or 250 feet. So working in deep water areas provided a lot of logistical challenge because this gear, when you deploy it, you want to make sure it doesn't bundle up and get tangled. So the crews develop pretty specialized skills in deploying gear out there. And there's a lot of patience because it's so deep. It creates a challenge to make sure the equipment is working effectively.
I saw you and your team do this the other day. It is an absolute ballet. It is incredible. I had no idea what was going on. Nets were coming in and going out, and your team is absolutely incredible. For some context here, this Lake Superior, as you may know, is the largest of the Great Lakes. And I'm going to give you some facts just to talk about how massive this lake is. If you were to take all the water in this lake and dump it in North America. Oh, we got some rocks here. I'll come back to this.
Yeah, and we got a few interesting. We got a pretty good drop off coming up here. It looks like too. So, yeah. So we do have some rocky action here at the bottom, and this rock pile. Yeah, we're going to come around. This. Pretty interesting. We'll see if anybody's hiding in the rocks over here.
Just thinking about our earlier YouTube question, those rocks are red and have a maroon color too. They definitely make me think pictured rocks, which we're not too far from.
Well, this is sort of an interesting sort of rock pile in the middle of nowhere. So, Shawn, what are your thoughts about having come upon this pretty interesting rock pile way down here as we descend to the very deepest part of the lake?
So yeah, there have been questions like the value of doing this, and this right here is a great example of the value. So a lot of assumptions are in deep water that the bottom is just muddy or sandy, and here we're seeing rocky substrate, and this is the type of rock that is necessary for lake trout to lay eggs in. So this is verifying that there is a spawning habitat down here. And it's also cover for sculpins and probably burbot.
Incredible. Super cool.
And I imagine some of these rocks too, some of them look,
Oh, there's a hoppy sculpin. You know what? That sculpin is trying to mow down on some, is having dinner down here. Let me try to get, you trying to eat a mysis, buddy? Is that what you're up to down there? I think the answer is yes. Maybe we're providing a little bit of extra light for little dude down here. These guys are just so cool. They create nests in the early winter every year, little round nests, and they lay eggs in them, and they actually protect their nests. So there's parental care these little guys show. And a couple years ago, we're working on our last documentary in Lake Ontario. We actually filmed the largest number of these sculpin nests ever documented for science previously. So we have a connection to these little guys, and they're very fun-looking, kind of alien creatures. Seems to be hunkered down now, probably because there's a large robot thing hovering over it.
I mean, it's crazy. There's so much pressure down there, about 40 times the pressure there is up here, above the water. And still, that looks like a fish. So it's pretty amazing to me that these creatures can withstand all that.
All right. See you later, buddy. We're going to keep on keeping on into the deepest realms there. Heading west. Oh, there's another one. Yeah. Lots of sculpin around these parts.
We have a question from YouTube. Isle Royal Natural Resources crew watching here. Woo! Are you hoping to do any long-term monitoring of this site?
Well, we primarily being filmmaker folk, we do some scientific work as well. But I know that that's what that's whole thing, right, Shawn? So how long has this site been monitored with nets?
So there's a committee called the Lake Superior Technical Committee. So it's a committee of all the agencies that are involved with natural resources on Lake Superior. So that committee developed a survey in deep water areas in the mid-1990s. And when I started my career, I had the responsibility to sample in Michigan waters. And so we went to Superior Maximus in 2006. And that was the first time humans have ever sampled that area, and we found siscowets down there. And that survey is executed every 3 years, given the logistical challenges for agencies to go offshore and deploy gear in really deep water. So yeah, it's monitored every 3 years, and that's going to be continuing. So it gives us a good picture of what's going on in all of deep water habitat, including Superior Maximus.
So as Zach continues along here, I'm going to pick up what I was starting earlier, just about how massive this lake is. If you were to take all the water in Lake Superior and drop it on, let's say, Detroit, it just wouldn't cover the surface of Detroit. It would spread to Windsor, Toronto, over to Chicago, New York, and eventually you would cover all of North and South America with a foot of water. That's like a bathtub's amount of water, covering all the way from Ellesmere in the northern Arctic all the way down to Tierra del Fuego. That is a phenomenal amount of water. The shoreline of Lake Superior and the islands in it can stretch, if you stretch it all out, put it on a string, from New York to LA. This is like, it's hard to comprehend just how big this lake is. And standing out here, we could see a little bit of land on the horizon. I know the cameras can't even see this, but it really feels like you're in the middle of an absolutely massive ocean.
Wow, that's a lot of water. We've got a follow-up question from YouTube. What is the water pressure at this depth?
Well, that's interesting. You know what? We had something here that made a really big kicked up some stuff down here, and I wonder what that was. It seemed a little bigger than a sculpin. So let's see. We'll keep going down. The water pressure, I believe, is about 40 times greater than at the surface. The exact number, pressure number, I don't know. Does anyone else know on board?
I think it's 41 atmospheres. I had to do a little calculation on that based on the depth.
Okay, so we're down at 364 meters, or more than a 1,000 feet here, and we continue to drop. So we continue to get deeper here.
I can do some quick nerdy math. This is diving math for any divers out there. You divide the number of meters by 10 or feet by 33. 10 meters or 33 feet, that's an atmosphere. So we're down at, I think you said 360, so that's about 36.5 times the pressure that you feel at the surface. So it would not feel very good on your lungs and sinuses if you were on a dive right now.
Yeah, lots of sculpin down here. Some big ones too, big for a sculpin. Oh yeah, hey buddy. I know. It's not the best. It's kind of a strange thing.
We have a question from Gail from Facebook. Are you near the Edmund Fitzgerald?
I mean, we're in the same. We aren't. It's in that they both happened in southern Lake Superior, but we're a good ways away from the Edmund.
We are about 40 miles north or southwest of where the Fitzgerald was traveling.
We're also quite a bit deeper than the Edmund Fitzgerald right now. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's in about 530 feet of water, something like that. And we're already deeper than that. And speaking of things that...
Oh, hold on here. Oh. So this is interesting. Let's see if I can be gentle enough to give you all a shot. Oh, darn. It's a little hard to it's a little harder to maneuver down here, and especially when you're so right close to the bottom. What I'm seeing on this rock is it's covered in hydra, which is a really cool creature that lives on the rocks down here. Let's see if I can't see what I can do to sort of adjust and try to give you folks a shot of the hydra there. So these are very much like, they remind me very much of sea creatures for sure. Bit of a current down here, so let's see if I can punch in. Let me try that. I'm going to switch on autofocus for a second and see what happens when I get close to this rock, a hydra. Show you folks some. I'll lock the focus there again. You can just see the rock has some fur on it, and that's not fur. That's a really cool little creature that eats zooplankton in the water. So see if I can. Oh, sorry, dudes. It's challenging to drive down here, and that's such a it's quite a bit of current, and there's a lot of stuff kind of on the bottom. We'll see if we can't come across some more hydra as we go along.
Zach, from what you're seeing, we saw a little bit of stuff kick up there. Can you describe, Shawn, you could chime in there as well, what this is at the bottom, what it feels like compared to maybe beach sand or rock? How do you describe what's lining the bottom right now?
Oh, that's a big, other big sculpin. They're growing big down here. Those guys. Sorry, dudes. Yeah. It is an incredibly fine silt. So it's just like, if you get even like a little bit too close to the bottom, you could even see when the tiny sculpin zoom away, they create their own plumes on this bottom, and it's probably a lot of what's sort of hanging in the water column here. So it's that makes it challenging to come down this slope for sure. That, and there is some current here that we're fighting as well. Oh, sculpin everywhere. So let me give you folks an update on the depth. So we are at 372 meters right now. Remember, we're heading to that magic 400 mark, and then we're officially into the very deepest zone of the Great Lakes. In fact, we are already deeper than every other Great Lake by a lot. So the other next deepest Great Lake to Lake Superior is Lake Michigan, I believe, and I think it's 270, 280 meters. And so we are way past. We're 100 meters deeper. So this deep zone exists only here in Lake Superior and only in a couple of spots. And as soon as we get to that 400 mark, this is it. This is the only spot.
Certainly the deepest we've ever taken our robot.
And it's the deepest we've ever, yeah, we've just also surpassed the deepest we've ever taken our robot. Wow, these are big sculpin. It's like, this is where the monster sculpin live. Just in seeing our other, you can just tell that these ones this is where the biggies live. Hey, sorry, dude. Okay, 74, we got 71% battery left. Okay, doing pretty good.
We have a question for Shawn. Mussels have been less prolific in Superior. Do you think that will continue to be the case?
Can you repeat that?
Yes, it's a question about mussels in Lake Superior.
Quagga and zebra mussels, I believe, is likely the question.
That's a good question. We do have those invasive mussels in Lake Superior, but they're only in very shallow nearshore areas, as far as we know, and they need rocky substrate to start colonize. And I think one of the reasons maybe Lake Superior doesn't have many of those is because of calcium that they need for their shells. The geology here in Lake Superior is much different than Lake Huron or Lake Michigan, where we see a lot of those type of mussels. So we think that's one of the limiting factors that prevents them from colonizing the lake too much.
Shawn, give us a little bit of a rundown of what other species are down at the very deepest parts of Lake Superior.
Okay, so the fish community down here is very simple. There's basically 4 species of fish. I think I touched on them briefly earlier. The top predator out here is the siscowet lake trout or lake char. It is the deep water form, and the other predator that's out here is the burbot, which lives on the bottom. And then the 2 other fishes that are out here are the sculpin, deepwater sculpins, which we're seeing swimming around, and that lives on the bottom. And then the other small fish that's out here is the kiyi. It's a whitefish relative and related to the cisco, and it inhabits the water column down here, and it forages on these little shrimp we're seeing here, a possum shrimp or mysis. So that's it for the fish community down here. Pretty simple.
And a couple of cool things about those. So these aren't just any lake trout, though. I mean, these are the biggest, aren't they, Shawn?
Yeah. So they have special adaptations to live down in the deep. So siscowets have a lot of fat. They're also called fat lake trout. We've measured up to 80% intramuscular fat in their bodies. And if you may wonder why they have so much fat, so their counterparts in nearshore areas, the lake trout that most people are familiar with, have about 10% to 50% body fat. The reason they have so much fat, we think, is to facilitate movement up the water column by buoyancy. When they're this deep, the siscowets really don't rely on their gas bladder as much for vertical movement because it's probably more costly energetically. So as siscowets develop over time, they accumulate body fat, and we think that's to deal with that vertical movement and also the pressure.
And the kiyi is a very special species for us. In fact, we've named our drone kiyi after this really cool species. That there's been a lot of recent science on this little fish. You know, they live in this extreme area. They only live in Lake Superior, only place in the world that this fish lives in the most extreme parts of Lake Superior, and they've never been photographed in nature before. So people have brought them up from the bottom in nets, but of course they don't survive that change. And so while we're working on this show, we're in particular looking to try to film kiyi, because wouldn't that be incredible to show people this deep water fish that's never been on camera before? And that's why we named our underwater robot kiyi. And one of the cool things is some of the recent science has shown that they've actually re-evolved the ability that their ancestors had from the ocean when they moved into the Great Lakes long ago to see in extremely low light. So you see they have very big eyes, and they're just a very cool species. And we know they're down here. You know, they could be around any corner. So that one is getting me very sort of excited to be down here.
Question from YouTube. How long has this team been preparing for this dive?
Yvonne?
Yeah, I can answer that one. I'm driving the boat a little bit to keep up with Zach, but we're not going too fast here, so I think we can lock her in. Yeah, so Zach and I have been using our Boxfish Luna for a couple of years now. We've probably done about 375, 400 days on the water using this particular robot. So that's all been leading up to this. But the whole crew here has been together for about a week, getting deeper and deeper and deeper with this new special tether that lets us go that deep. We've already got over 500 meters of that tether out in the water. So we have been practicing just for this day, getting ready to try to get out any of the bumps. And I think we're doing pretty good so far.
We've got some great choreography happening here on deck with Yvonne at the front. She's also controlling this little trolling motor here, which keeps us pointed in roughly the same direction, which is helpful, so the tether doesn't wrap around the boat too much. She's got some bouncing action here. And Tila over here is managing this absolutely massive spool. This thing's really heavy. When all the lines on there, we've had to tie it off to the side of the boat so it doesn't slide all over the place. But this is some heavy-duty tether for a pretty awesome and rugged expedition.
And one of the interesting things about when you're trying to manage tether at this depth it's very challenging because you actually can't. There's so much line in the water. It's actually not possible to the line goes straight down in the water and then it goes along the bottom. So if we even tried to move the boat, then what would happen is that it would actually just be pulling that line from the surface. So we kind of have to, all Yvonne can do is sort of keep us in position during a dive this deep.
Question from YouTube. The bottom looks flat. Are there trenches down there?
The bottom is actually not flat right now. We are going down on a slope, and so that's how we've been going sort of deeper and deeper. So we're at 381 meters. We're aiming for that 400 mark. I know we're a little bit off the surface there. I'm going to turn down my lights a little bit and start conserving energy a touch and make things a bit. Adjust the ISO, make it brighter. Yeah, there's quite a bit of marine snow in this zone here. Oh, what do we got? What do we got here? Just rock and lots more sculpin.
Zach, you're talking quite a bit about power management. How long can this robot stay underwater without needing a new charge?
Well, it really depends on where you're operating. So the conditions down there with all the currents and pulling along that thousands of feet of sort of tether behind us, we definitely use a lot more power than when we are just zooming around at 20 meters or 50 meters or so. So at this amount of power, total downtime is probably only 2 or 3 hours or so at the max, and then we have to also include the amount of energy to get back up to the top again. But when we're just trying to chase and film other fish like whitefish or muskie or pike or bass or any other species people are quite familiar with, we can run for 6, 7, 8 hours looking around down there.
And we now know what happens when the battery died, because about a month ago in the north part of Georgian Bay, you were rolling on some absolutely incredible behavior and wanted to catch every last second. So robot ran out of juice, and we very, very, very carefully pulled it back by the tether. So if it does die, we can retrieve it, but it's always best to not have that be the case.
That's true. We were filming yellow perch spawning, which was just an incredible thing to see, and some good reason to watch Hidden Below when it's done on TVO or another yet to be announced where we'll be able to watch it in the U.S., but it'll be somewhere. And interestingly, our last show, All Too Clear, is just premiering, I think, just this week on PBS. Isn't that right, Yvonne?
Yeah, actually, folks, if they want to see more Great Lakes fishy action, they can watch on pbs.org the whole series right now already, or it's coming to Detroit PBS on June 12th.
Okay, and we're continuing to go down the slope here towards the deepest spot.
Bonnie from Facebook says, so excited when I came across this on Facebook. Does the water temperature at the bottom of Lake Superior affect the battery life in your robot? Like what you were chatting about.
I don't think the water temperature as much, so I can actually see what the temperature is inside the robot. And it is about 10 degrees C inside the robot and about 3.3 degrees outside the robot.
Ooh, chilly.
But that's well within. That's probably not affecting the battery as much as just how hard the engines and the lights have to work in order to get us down here and show us what's happening.
As we continue to descend, we're going to see lots of cool stuff, but there's one object in particular that we're going to be keeping our eyes out for. Back in '86, there was a...
Oh, hold on here.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Now I got to... What are we saying? Oh, no. I thought it was a burbot, but you know what? I think this is... what do we got here? We have a can. we have a Brock and a some kind of a can. We'll see if we can see if I can be gentle enough in this environment here to see what this can or what this here says. So I can try to go up a little bit.
I think it's a. Does it say bush on it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So you know, we actually don't find there is hydra on the rock as well. Let's see if I can stay in place enough here too. And so this is a little habitat made by I think a beer can and a rock, folks. So you know,
someone was having a good time.
And some sculpin around there. And let's see if I can be gentle enough to show you. Oh yeah. So let's see. Yes. So here you can get a better view of the hydra. Those little...
So that's the little red things, right, Zach?
That's the little red things, yeah. And this is quite massively challenging just to say here. Yvonne, can you talk about
Yeah,
it?
So the hydra, they're pretty cool. If you think about, you know, those balloon people at used car lots, that's kind of what they look like up close. And so they've got these arms that are kind of waving out in the water. And so what they're doing, these are actually animals. What they're doing is picking zooplankton, so little tiny critters, out of the water, and that's their food. And they're stationary beings, so that's the only way they can get food is by using the currents and their arm motions to pluck little life out of the water. But yeah, they're pretty cool, obviously, and they're very teeny. They're probably like, I don't know, a quarter inch tall. Shawn, how big's a hydra? Is that about right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, they're pretty small. So Zach's trying his best here, but they are teeny-weeny guys. Getting a really good shot of that can, though.
We do have zoom, but
yeah. We actually don't seem to find that much garbage, which I'm pretty happy about. But here we are, getting a good shot of that. And also what we can see around there is some mysis.
Yeah, little shrimpy guys. And so I'm gonna try to pull out on the. I'm gonna zoom out there again, and we'll just. Well, that was interesting. We don't. You know, a lot of people ask us, do we see a lot of junk out there when we're out in the depths? And honestly, not as much as you might think. You know, we occasionally see a still fishing ghost net. We don't like to see that, but it's not very often, frankly. So that tends to hearten us. You know, not that there's nothing out here, but it's not like the bottom's sort of covered in junk. That's for sure.
And for anyone wondering, we would pick it up if we could.
Yes, no arm on this robot currently.
So we're going to try to talk about something else that we might come across down there. But every time I try to do something like that, we've come across something awesome. So here we go. I'll try to be quick about this. There's a time capsule that was placed down here in '86 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the state of Michigan. So we have a video showing what that looked like. It's absolutely fascinating. So let's take a look at that.
There's some quote-unquote documents which nobody on board seems to know what they are, but apparently this is going to be searched for and located in 50 years. The basic purpose for this is celebrating and commemorating Michigan's sesquicentennial. It's been a state for 150 years. The outside of the container has been signed by most of the scientists on board as well as the crew, subcrew, the submarine crew, captain, and probably about 200 50? Is this from the last cruise also?
This year, 11 to 12 people signed it.
I guess everybody has been doing research on this ship and all the crew people in and out have been signing this for the last few weeks.
What do you think, guys? Should we take a look?
All righty, so that's out here somewhere. That time capsule, and wouldn't that be cool? That was put place here 40 years ago. There's been a lot of debate amongst our team here as to whether, how possible finding something like that would be. I see another indent on the sonar here. So let me just go over there. Slow down a little bit as I get a bit closer.
How deep are we now?
So we are 385 meters. So how much tether is out there, Yvonne?
I think we're around 550 meters.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
So you've managed to get a hold of things out there.
Oh yeah.
Tether-wise, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's big. Something over here. What do we got? We have wood.
Ooh, actually, this is. I mean, So I was talking to a marine archaeologist about this, about finding wood, and because the Great Lakes are
we got
cold,
not only wood. Let me just see. Wood. Now, these kinds of places are almost certainly sort of habitat, down here. So I think, might just be a sculpin in there, but look at this. Yeah, very
dug in underneath
interesting. Yeah, let's see. We'll come around. This looks like might be, might be a Drebert home here. Let me see. All I saw was a sculpin, but you can see that the rock here, right? So you can see how the rock is just
under the sediment.
By the way this piece of wood has landed, it looks like it's sorry about that. Yeah, we're using a lot of thrusters to keep in position down here. It's just such a soft bottom.
So wood on the bottom of the Great Lakes, even though it might just look like a normal tree branch, because the Great Lakes are so cold, they can preserve things for a really long time. So, for instance, this branch could be 5,000 years old. It's pretty amazing. When you find wood, you just have no idea how old it could be. So we'll mark this location for our underwater archaeologist friends to come back and take a sample.
Cool. So many sculpin out here, yeah, and that showed up really well on the sonar here.
Okay, so if there's a time capsule.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see it.
Guys don't. We have a question.
I can throw the lasers on here too, so we can get a sense of how
some
big
of these
things are. Yeah. I'm not sure if we'll measure a sculpin exactly, but I think we have lasers. Actually, the lasers currently. Oh no, there they are. So I've thrown on the lasers here, folks, so we can see that's 10 centimeters or 3 inches or so. So we can kind of get a sense of how big those. Yeah, that's about the size of that sculpin, I would say. Yeah, roughly. Yeah. Cool.
We have a very important question from an 8-year-old on YouTube. What is marine snow in Superior made out of?
Well, there's at least some life in there, and you're seeing little. You can see little shrimps that are. I'll try and focus a bit when we get into a good spot here where we can see it a little. Oh, were you trying to go after that? Are you running away from me, or are you interested in that in the
lasers?
Lasers. We'll see.
I think the sculpin is chasing the lasers.
Yeah. See. Earlier,
a cat.
Shawn mentioned that the Drebert were the cats of the but maybe sculpin are. Yeah. That's an even bigger sculpin, I think.
Yeah, these are very good.
Hefty. Yeah.
I'm pretty surprised to see this many sculpin. So that's something we're learning. I think my colleagues that sample and work with sculpins will have a lot of things to think about, especially at this extent.
Zach, can you tell the folks at home what these lasers are and what they can tell you?
Well, these lasers are used to measure things underwater, or if you're doing things like making a 3D model of the lake bed, they can be used to add accuracy to that as well. But we turn them on when we want to measure fish, largely, or rocks, or a piece of wood.
So they're not like phasers.
I think the design is slightly different. Yeah, these are more friendly lasers than a phaser, I would think. Yeah,
research lasers.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Not powered. They're not that powerful.
I'm going to make a bit of a change to how I'm operating this. There's a bunch of different operational ways to control this robot, and so I'm making a change to that so that because it was in the mode where basically we could drive the robot like a fish, but I changed it more so that it's going to stay level to the bottom as we go along, which might help us. There are a lot of mice here too, but I'm eager to try to get to the something else out there. What is that?
Another can?
I don't know if it's a can. I think it's just is it a I'm not sure what it is actually. Oh, this is a dead and decaying
Dead fish?
something. Yeah, this is a dead fish. This is and I did see there is a sculpin under it. So you hear of whale falls in the ocean, right? So this is a very well preserved it is a very clean deadfall of some kind of a fish, and there's a live sculpin
inside
inside it, which is pretty neat. Isn't that cool? All right, so down we keep going towards the.
And I don't think we finished answering the marine snow question, because in there is not just mysis, but a bunch of other little zooplankton, little critters. And if Zach stops at one point, you'll see that some of those dots are jumping around, not just the little mysis that are pretty obvious. So some of it's mysis, some of it's probably sediment from the bottom that's been kicked up by our friends, the deepwater sculpin, and the other fish that are down here. As you get closer up to the surface, you're also going to get little tiny plants that we call phytoplankton or algae, and that's the base of the food chain. But those guys need light to grow. So I suspect we probably don't have too much phytoplankton at 400 meters.
And it's just the stuff that that the winds and the currents kind of pick up and throw into the water. Yeah, it's not the best to look at. Some areas have more of it than others. There's a good amount of it down here, but maybe that just means there's lots of food for the mysis and the deepwater sculpin here.
Zach, as you continue to zoom around there, I was looking at the name of Lake Superior, and obviously Superior, it's the biggest lake, so my assumption is that's why it's called Lake Superior. It's superior to all the rest in size, but actually it comes from the French word Lac Supérieur, meaning the upper lake, like the highest up there lake. So that's convenient. That worked out well, the name of this giant lake. But before it was called Lac Superior, it had the name Gitchigami. This is the Ojibwe name for Lake Superior. The indigenous history of this region is like absolutely mind-blowing and fascinating. The traditional stewards of this land are the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe, Cree, Dakota peoples who have stewarded the Great Lakes since time immemorial. This includes the Three Fires Confederacy, made up of the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations. And if there's an absolutely fascinating history here, and you could get a lot of resources from the Benogame Initiative. So this is part of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society and Canadian Geographic. So you could head over to their website. The spelling is BIINAAGAMI, and you can also get links through the Canadian Geographic website. And while we're talking about CanGeo, 4 of us on board are members of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society. The Society's mission is to make Canada better known to Canadians and the world. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of that, even though we're in American waters right now. We share a border.
We share the lake.
We share the lake.
It's one of the wonderful cooperation stories, really.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of shared management, lots of shared science between the two countries to try to manage and protect, you know, this which is the largest freshwater lake in the world by surface area. So it's a pretty important place.
Oh, that sculpin is hauling.
So many sculpins.
Question from YouTube. Can you estimate the speed of the current? As a viewer, I can't mentally understand the size of what shows in the view, plus account for any current the drone produces.
I could do that. I could stomp the robot and let it go along the bottom, and there's a sensor called DVL, or Doppler velocity log, which would then record how fast the robot is moving over the water surface. But I'm not going to do that right now because I'm trying to get to the,
The
deepest spot before we run out of tether and energy here. So we're getting closer. We're at about 388 meters right now. So we're hoping we'll come upon that spot fairly soon. That's a bit more of a gradual drop than I was anticipating here.
We have a question for Shawn. Is there a lot of debris at the bottom of the lake? Are we seeing the same plastic problem as we see in the ocean?
Unfortunately, Lake Superior is not immune to pollution, but it's not as polluted as some areas in the oceans that you would see in the media. But yeah, there are some of that. But because there's not a high population density around Lake Superior, it's generally more pristine.
And Shawn, tell the folks what you and your team pulled out of the water on the way here.
Oh, yeah, as we were traversing out here, we saw an object on the surface, so we responded to it, and it ended up being a purple beach ball. When we're navigating offshore quite a bit, we do see glittery objects out there, and of course we always have to respond to it, and we do see a lot of mylar balloons on the lake.
So keep those balloons inside. So, Shawn, I got a little story, then I got a question for you. There are a couple of ghost stories out in Lake Superior. Today it's beautiful, it's blue, it's bright. But when we were coming out this morning and yesterday, it is dark and foggy. Have you heard of the SS Bannockburn? This is a freighter that disappeared without a trace in a violent storm in 1902. For decades, sailors have been claiming to see this ship in the mist passing by, crewed not by people, but by skeletons. Shawn, have you ever seen a ghost ship crewed by skeletons out here?
Not on Lake Superior. No, I have not.
But elsewhere, perhaps?
No, just
No.
on TV. And
Okay.
Fortunately, I don't want to see that.
Well, you know, I like to think, it is beautiful out here. They may be happy skeletons. Life's pretty good out here if you're used to the waves. So I like to think of this ghost ship as having some friendly skeletons who enjoy the waves as much as we do.
Yeah.
Zach, just an FYI, 670 is out.
Okay, and
I'm moving a little bit. I don't know if it's helping.
Yeah, I don't. That, as I say, I think if we move at the top,
It's not going to help.
whether
Okay.
that will help or not. Yeah.
Right.
It is. We're trying to go southwest, sort of. Right? Do we still feel that's?
I mean, that looks like about what's happening.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have multiple ways to see where we are underwater, and one of them is not currently functioning. So, which is just something that happens. Because when you start operating at these sort of more extreme depths, it gets more and more challenging for equipment.
Throughout this live stream, you've heard a lot of chatter between Zach and Yvonne. Zach asking Yvonne questions, Yvonne filling Zach in on what's happening out here on deck. Choreography out here, as I mentioned, is awesome. Yvonne is out here in all kinds of weather. Like, it's gorgeous today, but you've been out on some absolutely like horrid conditions, and it is like, it's always colder out on the water. So my question for you is, what is the record number of pants that you have worn to keep you warm?
I think for pants, about 5 pairs, and for tops, I think 9 is the most I've worn in terms of tops. But the secret really is a heated vest. Battery, rechargeable battery vest is definitely the way to go to keep warm on deck.
And how are you feeling during those 9-shirt days when Zach is in a nice warm cabin and you're out here getting completely blasted by the snow?
I love my husband. I love my husband. I love him so much. It's not my favoriteest. Days like today are much, much better.
A question from YouTube. How does the temperature change the further down you go?
Well, this time of year, it changes hardly at all. So Lake Superior is so huge, and we've had such a cool spring as well, that that the temperature is almost the same all the way down. We register about, it's in the 3 degrees Celsius range at the top and the 3 degrees Celsius range at the bottom.
For any of you watching at home, you saw that cool video about the time capsule. If you see anything that maybe we missed or that you thought you saw in the murk, throw it in the comments. Let us know. Also, let us know if you saw that time capsule video, what direction you think we might find it. The big debate last night while we were having dinner was, is it still standing straight up? Is it on its side? Did something catch it? Did it kind of get blown over? Is it covered? So let us know how you think we might come across, if we come across that time capsule, how it might be seated down there.
Interesting thing here. Yeah, it's challenging there to. Okay.
Shawn, would you normally expect to find siscowet like right on the bottom? Or are they sometimes like, we've seen other lake trout like just having naps on the bottom. Is this something we think siscowet might do?
You mean swim along the bottom? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well,
like hanging right on the
yeah,
bottom.
I think Yvonne's saying that out in the open, we sometimes see them
just
laying,
like laying
on the
bottom.
other trout,
Other kinds
and we'll come across them and sort of disturb them.
It's like they're having a nap. It's probably not. I'm probably anthropomorphizing it, but yeah, sometimes we'll find them just laying by themselves on the bottom.
Yeah, I think they do rest once in a while. So the siscowet and the other predators tend to roam around individually or in small groups or like small packs. But and then they're always, they can search the bottom for food, which appears there's quite a bit down here. So yeah, and sometimes they'll just rest and look like they're just settling down there and chilling.
So these sculpin are, do you find them in the tummies of the siscowet lake trout when you do your sampling?
So that's a good question. So when we survey populations, we also look at what they're eating just to see how their overall health in terms of growth is related to what's available on the food web. So that was one of the ways we first detected other species at Superior Maximus is through their diet. So sculpins are a very important component of their diet. As you can see, they're broadly available, so they're a good energy source. So that's why lake trout move up and down the water column. They're able to subsidize their diet with things on the bottom as well as in the water column.
YouTube question. Can you swim in the deepest part of Lake Superior?
Be pretty chilly today.
So the deepest scuba dive ever done was just a little over 1,000 feet, and this is about 300 feet deeper than that. That 1,000-foot mark really is pushing the theoretical limits of how deep the body can go without like some sort of special reinforced suit. So that is a discussion amongst scuba divers. What can the lungs take? What can the sinuses take? How far can you go down there? But you absolutely you absolutely cannot swim down there. I mean, that would be a really long breath hold. And in scuba gear, even with that, it's too much for the body to take. Pressures down there are absolutely stupendous.
So we're at 720, Zach?
What's that, Yvonne?
We're at 720.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end of our 750 meter or 2,000 foot or so tether here.
Where are we on depth?
We're coming quite close to the 400 mark here.
All right. Well, we can go till we're out. Should have got the 800-meter tether, evidently.
And this tether, this is just something you could pick up at Walmart or
Yeah.
Best Buy. Yeah.
Yep. They have them, right beside the
Represent the
USB
modems.
cables.
Yeah.
Nope, it's a pretty specialized thing that we have to have made just for us, and it takes a few months to have one made. And we get it. It's not an inexpensive item, so we want to be careful with it as well. This is the longest one we've ever had, and looks like we're starting to see come toward the end of it.
On deck, Yvonne is constantly telling anyone out here, don't step on the tether.
Don't step on it.
The fiber in there is basically glass, and breaking this line would get you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you can crimp it. This particular tether, though, has a 500-kilogram breaking strike, so in terms of what we can pull with it, so we definitely can pull the robot back in if we had to. But still, if you tie it too tight a knot in it, the little bit of glass inside will break, and that is what we want to avoid, because then we can't control the robot.
Question from YouTube from a photographer from central Wisconsin. What's the oddest object you anticipate to find at these depths?
A beer can.
Well, probably that time capsule. Coming across that would be pretty incredible. That's down here somewhere.
Zach and Yvonne, what's the strangest thing you ever come across while doing a dive?
Well, we did discover a shipwreck from the 1890s, so that was pretty cool. And it was full of coal. It was hauling coal, and it went down actually not too far from our house. And so the road we live on was actually named after the captain of that ship, which went unfound for 130 years. So pretty cool.
Very cool. Question about the boat. Jan from Facebook. What are Shawn and Zach operating from?
I've got a shot out here. You can see the cabin, and if you like, I could try to come inside. I'm going to open the door and ruin all the light for them because they like the dark. So here I come into the cabin, guys. Get ready to be blinded. going to be dark. I'll brighten this up in a second. Here, there's everybody.
Hi.
Here. So we've got Zach operating over here on the right. Shawn there in the back, the nice RCGS flag. Alex Pope, the editor for Canadian Geographic. And say hi, Josh. Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
So they keep it really dark in here so Zach can see his screen. I'll show you what his setup looks like right here. And boy, oh boy, does he have an awful lot of screens.
Yeah,
here.
most of them are even working.
Here's his little world here, folks. I know you had that up. So while he's talking to us and saying all this cool stuff, he is busy. He is busy there, and Shawn's got the comfortable throne there in the middle. And I'm gonna and Alec, yeah, just absolutely stuffed in the back. So I'm gonna get out of here and turn these guys. It's probably darker in here than it is at the bottom there. So great question.
So we're just coming down to it in terms of tether here, Zach.
Okay, so
yep.
I think we're probably we're coming down to it as far as how what we can do here. But this is a really neat shot right now of these sculpin, and there's some. If you look around it, you can see a whole bunch of little mysis shrimp there as well. So it's really neat to see them. Kind of zooming around the bottom there. Oh, hey, buddy. Yeah. Wow, that's so the lake bottom is sort of covered in these guys, and they're just such an important source of food for lots of different species. They make incredible migrations up in the water column. The opossum shrimp do the mysis, and that's one of the stories we're going to be covering in Hidden Below.
You got a little bit more if you want to go a little bit further.
Well, I think we're pretty close to that
400-meter mark.
400-meter mark now, and we're low on the tether. So I think we're probably going to keep on exploring down here. I'll be heading back towards the boat slowly, and we'll see what we can see. But I think we're going to have to we're gonna probably leave the audience for now and keep on exploring on our own here.
Sorry, 1 second before we leave everybody. I am so sorry. I queued a question about this lovely boat. They wanted to know where we were. They need to know before they. Sorry about that. So where are we right now?
We're at Superior Maximus. So that is the deepest part of Lake Superior. So that's about 35 miles or 55 kilometers north of Munising, Michigan.
Hope that helps.
Like a straight shot north of Munising.
Great, Zach. So is that the end of our expedition here?
I think so. I think we've just about made it to the deepest spot, and we're gonna as I say, we're spending a few more weeks out here exploring this deep zone for Hidden Below. So, we'll let you know what we find, and it'll all make it into the show when it's done.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. A huge thank you to Shawn Sitar and the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for supporting this mission. Thank you, Yvonne and Tila out here on deck for keeping the ROV moving behind the scenes. Thank you to Jocelyn Bentley for the tech skills, and to Randy Strobel, Brianna Patterson, and Adam Foxlong at Detroit PBS for helping bring this to audiences everywhere. We're grateful to our streaming partners for carrying the stream, and of course, none of this would be possible without the support of our amazing Hidden Below partners. Next time on Hidden Below Live, we're heading to one of the most unusual environments in the Great Lakes, the Middle Island sinkhole of the Noah Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary in Lake Huron. This incredible sinkhole offers clues to what life was like billions of years ago. You won't want to miss it. Follow along with our journey and see what's coming next. Visit hiddenbelow.live or find us on social media at Hidden Below Great Lakes. And don't forget to subscribe to Great Lakes Now on YouTube. I'm Andrew Budziak. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll send it back to Zach Melnick for the final word.
Thanks so much for joining us today. And as I say, we're going to keep on exploring down here, so go away. Leave us alone. See you later. Bye-bye.